You're watching memorable entertainment television. MeTV Tri-State.
Broke the story on local homestead tax credit fiasco. Expose the Evansville Redevelopment Commission excessive spending habits.
Your community watchdog. CityCountyObserver.com is your online community newspaper dedicated to the progress of Evansville and Vanderburgh County. We're a nonpartisan publication providing insight into political issues and events that shape our community. We are a watchdog for you, the citizen. Check us out online, city-countyobserver.com. That's city-countyobserver.com.
Tri-State Voices, an open discussion with area leaders on issues affecting communities throughout the Tri-State. Now, here's your host, Mike Woods.
Good morning. Welcome to Tri-State Voices. Hi, I'm your host, Mike Woods. Tri-State Voices is jointly sponsored by WTSN, the City Council Observer, and my office, Woods & Woods. Every week we talk to a community leader about issues that are very important to the Evansville area. Today I'm honored to have Missy Mosby. Missy is the council leader of the 2nd Ward. She's from a long family of Mosbys that have held many different offices here in Evansville. We joke with her that she is the Mosby with hair, very pretty hair at that. Missy, I'm glad you're here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
You've been on the City Council since 2007.
Yes.
Probably the best place to start is just to explain to our viewers what the City Council does, how it works, how it relates to the mayor's office.
The City Council, basically we have 9 members of the City Council, 6 of which have a ward. So there's Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then we have 3 at large. And what City Council does is we control the budget, and then we also write ordinances and approve ordinances for the city.
Okay, now as I understand it, you can't make anything a misdemeanor or a felony. You can only make it a violation of a city ordinance.
That's correct.
Which is just simply a fine, that's it.
That's correct.
All right. Now if you want to get something turned into a felony or change a law like that, you have to petition the state legislature just like anyone else?
Yes, that would be a state, state legislator issue, and not a city council.
All right, well, how much of the City Council's time is spent on finance matters versus the ordinances?
You know, we've really had a lot of great things going on in Evansville, so it's really been split, and a lot of our ordinances and resolutions basically have stemmed from public funding, and budget. So it's really kind of a 50-50 right now, but of course when August hits, we will go into the budget time.
I was going to say, it seems like it kind of runs based on the calendar. When you hit the August, you're in more budget, and now you might be dealing with more ordinances.
Yes, that's correct.
And then the ordinances in a few months are going to get pushed out of the way and onto the budget.
Yes.
Now, you're the liaison between the council and, I think, 4 different agencies. We'll start with the police department,
yes.
Right? Okay, what do you do as a liaison?
Basically, as the EPD liaison, Jonathan Weaver and myself are both the liaison for the police department, and we try to meet quarterly with Chief Bolin and Assistant Chief Pugh and just kind of see what's going on. If we hear of different issues or anything like that, we'll definitely meet more than just once a quarter. We like to join them at Coffee with a Cop and just get out and see what the police department needs to make their job better. I also am fortunate. I also serve as the Fraternal Order of Police Associates President, so I am very active with the police department.
Yeah, now, suppose that you as a member of the council is unhappy with something the police department's doing, or suppose maybe you want an additional patrol out in your ward. How do you go about that? I mean, you don't have any direct control over the police department.
No.
So you can't call Billy Bolin and order anything done?
No.
Okay, how do you go about that to help your constituents?
No, but I do work very well with the police department, and I attend the majority of my 2nd Ward Neighborhood Association meetings. And with that, I'll talk to the CPO officer, which is the crime prevention officer for the police department, and see what we can do if maybe we need more patrol in an area, or maybe we need the guardian to sit outside an area and, monitor what's going on.
Okay, but you don't have any direct authority, you or anybody else on the council. I mean, if they want to send extra patrols out there, they can. If they don't want to, you can't force them. That's the mayor's job. That's the mayor's position, and then, of course, the chief of police, Billy Bolin, and Assistant Chief Pugh at their discretion. Okay. Now, you also work with animal control. Yes. And that's important to you. I know you're an animal lover. Yes, very passionate about this. Okay. If you want somebody to be the step guardian of an animal, pick Missy, because that's a retirement plan for him. So You're famous about that. Okay, what do you do with animal control?
Animal control, I like to go out there and, visit with the staff, find out what's going on, what we can do to help them. And, I'll take pictures of different animals that need to be adopted or fostered and try to, find them a forever home so that they can find a family that will love them and take care of them.
And you've been pushing, I think, fairly successfully about getting a lot higher adoption rate as opposed to having the animals euthanized.
And honestly, we've got a great staff at Animal Control. It's no longer the dog catcher mentality. This group, the staff there, they're remarkable. And what they try to do is they really do care. And, if they know a dog is adoptable, they're going to make sure it gets adopted.
Okay. And that's reduced the number of ones that have been euthanized, you think?
It really has. They've done a great job of reducing the number of dogs that have been euthanized. Cats, there's still a big problem there, but I am working with them to see what we can maybe do to alleviate some of that.
Okay. Now you also work with the street maintenance groups, is that right?
Another great group of workers.
Okay, and what do you do working with them?
I meet with them as often as I can. I go down to the street maintenance, try to join them for some of their morning meetings. I also did have the opportunity in the winter to ride with them when they were snow plowing, and I got a first-hand look of what they actually do, and I cannot thank them enough for all that they do for our city.
Okay. You're also a license for the engineering department.
Yes.
And they do a lot of flood control type work.
They do pretty much any of the engineering that goes on within the city of Evansville. So very big department that has a high impact here on Evansville.
And so how does that work? You talk to these departments and you go back to other people on the city council and inform them, and of course they have their duties to all the various departments, and they kind of keep the council informed what's going on.
True, yes. During budget hearings, it's very, it's a big piece of the puzzle to make sure if there's certain things that are needed in the budget that, the liaison is working with the council, let them know what's needed, why it's needed. And then also maybe if there's some type of issue that comes about throughout the year that they just need someone to talk to, and basically we can alleviate a problem before it becomes a huge concern. Okay,
I guess if a constituent calls you, then you can get things addressed.
True, very true, like, potholes, if there's any flooding issues. Also work a lot with, weed problems, things like that.
Okay. Lorraine Park's in your ward, is that correct? And you weren't real happy with the funding, I think, a year or so back. What's going on with Lorraine Park now?
Very proud to say that I have an awesome Lorraine Neighborhood Association, and they made it their mission that they wanted to completely redo Lorraine Park and add some more equipment there. So in 2013, we were hoping that would be in the budget. Unfortunately, it did get cut. So upon working with the Parks Department and with the administration and Mayor Winnicky, we sat down, took a look at the ending figures for 2013. There was going to be some money left over. We utilized those funds to actually purchase some equipment, and worked with Lorraine Neighborhood Association and with some other corporate sponsors, raised more money, and was able to actually spend $5,000 more than what the city could afford and have more equipment.
You mentioned neighborhood associations. You've been really, really active in those, particularly in your ward. Why do you think they're important?
That is so important, especially if you're having an issue in your area. What you can do is you can call United Neighborhoods and talk to them about setting up a neighborhood association. And with that, the police department has a CPO officer that will come to your monthly meetings. They'll let you know what crime's going on. They'll give you pointers and different things to do and not do to help alleviate that. And I'm proud to say that with some of my neighborhood associations, we've had some monthly reports with 0 crime.
So one of they patrol, they call the police, they see something unusual, something suspicious, that kind of thing?
Well, that, and then some of my neighborhood associations, like Southeast Neighborhood Association, Tom Littlepage is the president. We actually, that's the neighborhood that I live in, we'll actually go out and walk the neighborhood, get to know the neighbors, get to know who should be in that area. And if there's someone causing trouble and they walk by and see this huge group of people walking with their neighborhood association shirts, they're going to leave. They're not going to start problems in our area. kind of taking back our neighborhoods.
Okay, so just kind of keep focused on any problems,
Yes.
whether they're small, before they
come into a
How
big
much of the
problem.
neighborhood association are you trying to deal with the gang problem? It seems like that's something we hear more and more about all the time.
That is really becoming a big issue. We've had couple of shootings over in the Second Ward, with gangs, and that is something that's definitely on our radar. The police department has come out and even done different gang activity and gang-related sessions for us to kind of know what to look for, graffiti-wise and things like that, so that we can, call them as soon as we see something suspicious.
Recently the Good Neighbor Ordinance was passed, and it was by a 5-4 vote. There was pretty strong debate on that on both sides. You voted in favor of the ordinance.
Yes.
Why did you think it ought to be passed?
I honestly, with going with my neighborhood association meetings monthly, time and time again, you're always hearing about that problem property or that problem tenant. And this will help give the police department another tool to actually clean up our neighborhoods.
Well, what is that ordinance exactly? I mean, what does it say?
There's several things in that ordinance. It is very lengthy, but there was a lot of false information out there about this ordinance. They're not going to evict you for just one time not cutting your grass, one time having your music loud. There's several different tiers.
But repeat violations, they can evict you though, right? 3
strikes and you can be out.
Okay.
But honestly, if someone is constantly abusing and doing things illegal, do you want them living next door to you?
And that would be 3 times where the police had to make a run out there, is that right?
Yes.
So. And it would be 3 legitimate runs, not when police get out there and they didn't find anything wrong. That doesn't count against the person.
No, and I think what a lot of people were concerned about is, what if you have a neighbor that doesn't like you and they're constantly calling in on you? Well, the police department, they do a great job, and they'll know whether or not it's a false accusation.
Yeah, and if they make a report and it's unsubstantiated, then that's not a problem for the person,
count.
right? And so they get 20 of those, that's nothing. But they're going to have 3 substantiated.
Yes.
Or a felony or 2 misdemeanors, as I understand. Is that
that's
right?
correct.
So really, it's repeat offenders.
It's a repeat
the chronic
offenders.
problems.
Yes.
Okay. Well, why were some people against the ordinance?
I think, I can't speak for other council members, but I think some of the other people out in the public were against it because of a lot of misinformation. And then some felt that, needed a little bit more tweaking. And, there were some things that I would have liked to have amended. And hopefully, we're supposed to sit down and regroup after, 9 months, take a look at it. And hopefully I can get some of these amendments added. I would like to see more emphasis on gang-related activities, child trafficking, precursors for meth, and then, kind of change the wording, because right now it basically says, with the exception of marijuana, so I wanted that changed as well.
Well, why do you want that changed?
I just think that it looks like a little bit of a gray area. Marijuana is illegal, and I don't want people to think it's okay to be out there, smoking marijuana and dealing drugs, because it is illegal. And the way it's written, it just kind of looked a little bit of a gray area.
Okay. Now, the city council is 8-1 Democrat.
Yes.
But it seems like for the most part, you guys get along pretty good with the mayor. I mean, there's always going to be friction. I don't care if the mayor is Democrat or Republican, there's going to be some friction. But as far as who the mayor appoints for different departments, that sort of thing, you guys really don't have much control of that, right?
No, we don't. They serve at the pleasure of the mayor's department.
Okay. Well, like in the, if you compare it to the federal government, if the president's going to appoint somebody to be, say, Secretary of Defense, that has to be approved by the Senate. Whereas all the appointments the mayor makes, say the mayor, when he appoints the chief of police, that's not approved by the city council. You guys have nothing to do with that.
No, the city council doesn't have anything to do with that.
Okay. So you can give your opinion, but they can do what they want.
Exactly.
But you can control that, I guess, you control the budget. You control the purse. So if you're really, really unhappy about something, you could change the purse strings.
That's correct. Yeah, you could do something in the budget to cut that part out.
Okay. Or I guess if the mayor had a policy you really didn't like, you could pass a city ordinance, and the mayor and everybody that works for the city would have to obey the ordinance just like every other citizen.
True. Okay. We could do that.
But beyond that, it's the mayor's got their job, you've got your job, and they kind of bump into each other sometime, but he's got to do his thing, you got to do yours pretty much, right?
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's basically what's best for the city of Evansville.
Okay. But if you wanted a certain person, if the city council wanted a certain person hired or fired, they really don't have that power, do they?
No, it's you know, back in the day, you did have a little bit more control on that, but anymore, you know, you have to be qualified for that position, and basically the department head, you know, does make that decision on who they hire and who they fire.
Because, you know, one thing that's interesting about even department heads can't hire and fire like they used to years ago. You know, when it used to be when you got a new mayor in, tons of people would get fired and all these new people hired and then get turned over. And now with merit systems and the police department and the rest of it, you just don't have the turnover like that.
No.
Even the mayor doesn't appoint really a whole lot of people.
No, it's not like it used to be.
It's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot. Yes, I worked for the city back then, and you know, every time there was a mayoral race with a name like Mosby, I always did worry, okay, if the Republicans take control, what's going to happen?
Okay. The kind of switching gears, I know you were in favor of the med school downtown.
Yes.
How do you think that's going to change the downtown?
Oh, it's in the next 4 to 5 years, downtown's just going to take on a whole new look. It's going to be more vibrant, you know, and what that does is that just helps your city. It's also going to bring the economic impact on this is just going to be phenomenal. Okay,
well, I know you have 2 jobs actually.
Yes.
One with city council. It's supposed to be part-time, but it's more than full-time. But you're a realtor is your actual job. And so when you speak about the property values and the effect on property with whether a good neighbor ordinance or with the effect of the med school, you're really kind of looking at it through both the eyes of a realtor and also as a person on the city council.
Yes, and funny that you mentioned that. Right after the IU Med Center was announced that it was going to come here to Evansville, there were a couple houses downtown that had been on the market, you know, for a longer period of time. Those both pinned it the next week. So the property values just went up, and you know, people want to move downtown.
The downtown's changing.
Oh.
It really, really is changing.
Yes.
And I agree with what you said. Another 4 or 5 years, it'll be a lot different. It really will be. The city spent somewhere around $130 million in downtown, or is getting ready to spend between the Ford Center and the med school, the hotels, about $130 million. Is there still going to be more money in the TIF monies for another big project? I mean, if something really great came along, like the med school, can't think of an example off the top of my head, but something really great came along like that, are we going to be able to fund that? Or?
Yeah, that is something we'll have to look at each different thing as it comes. Things, you know, as they do come up. But honestly, something like the IU Med Center, we couldn't afford not to do it.
Yeah.
You know, the economic impact on this is just going to be amazing for Evansville and for, you know, for everyone here and the surrounding area.
Well, and that'll go on for years and years and years and years. Once that money's paid off, that school's still going to be there generating.
Yes, it's going to be here for a very long time, and it's, you know, what it's going to do to Evansville and the downtown area. You know, hopefully in 4 or 5 years we can sit down and have this conversation and say, wow, look what all has transpired.
Maybe you'll be mayor by then.
Hey, we haven't had a female mayor yet.
Well, maybe we change that. You know, we've got the med school on one side of the walkway, and then we've got the casino on the other side.
Yes.
Are we ever going to be able to get a land-based casino? Because Tropicana said they'd put a ton of money in that casino if it could be land-based. And so you'd have, on each side of the downtown, you'd have these just magnificent economic engines just generating jobs and generating growth. But I think the governor's made it pretty clear he's not going to go for a land-based casino.
Unfortunately, that is a state, you know, state level and governor. I have not actually got to have a personal conversation with the governor about that, but from what I'm hearing, no, he is not in favor of that. You know, maybe we can change his mind, because that would, what that would do is open up that area, and possibly we could, you know, move our casino land-based and then put the LST right down there so that people can drive by and visit it, and it will get more exposure.
Yeah, because right now the LST, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind way over there. It would be much better if it was where the boat is.
Yes, it would. But up until this weekend, when they had the reenactment downtown for the Shriners Fest, the thousands of people that came out to see that, and the pride is, you know, the LST came down the Ohio River, and you know, it was just a remarkable event.
Yeah, I kind of worry about the casino, because you had the deal in Cincinnati where their casino, its revenue dropped by half in 1 month when a new one opened up. Tropicana, like I said earlier, is willing to put a ton of money in over there. I mean, major investments, a couple $100 million. But Governor Pence seems like he's more interested right now in running for president, and he's not going to do anything that might make people mad. And the land-based casino is kind of controversial. So I mean, I think as long as he's the governor, that's not going to happen.
Well, hopefully we can change his mind on that, because, like I said, it is very, you know, Evansville needs to work on the casino and get it land-based, and that would open up more opportunity for Evansville.
Yeah, it's limited now, and sooner or later you're going to have like gambling over at Ellis Park or something like that. I mean, and the city budget's being squeezed already. If the casino money goes down, it's going to be pretty complicated to make the numbers work.
Yes, it will make it tough, and if we could do something land-based, I think that would bring the revenue back up, and, you know, we could actually fund more.
Yeah. Mesker Amphitheater is a place that I loved a lot. I know I've heard you mention before how much you loved it. But it seems to me that unless some private industry is willing to step forward and pay for it, I don't see anywhere in the city budget that that's going to be able to be accomplished. Do you?
I agree.
I mean, realistically, I know you'd like to, but
realistically, you know, I went there several times growing up. It's wonderful for the west side and for Evansville, but unfortunately, there's just only so much money that, you know, that we have that we can, you know, spread out. And, you know, public safety has to be number one. And you know, once you start divvying that money out, there's just not enough to go around. So if we could get some, you know, private partnerships to step up and want to do something, you know, that would really tremendously help.
As far as the city paying for it, I just don't see they have anywhere close to the amount of money they're going to need to do that.
Unfortunately, I just don't see where we have the funding right now. You know, I could be wrong, but I do know that it's, you know, getting close to budget times, and we're looking at different things. So we have got to, you know, put our money, you know, into public safety and other departments.
Okay. What's happening with the same-sex benefits issue now?
We had looked at that, and I know Councilman Weaver had wanted to bring an ordinance up, and what we decided to do was we wanted to see what the cost was, because we're not sure of what the financial impact to the budget would be. So we've asked the mayor's office and the personnel department to do, you know, a study on that to just kind of see what the cost would be, so maybe we could implement that, and hopefully we can implement that into next year's budget.
Okay, and when are they going to get those numbers back? Do you have any idea?
I would hope soon, with, you know, budget coming around in August.
Okay. You wonder what's going to happen with the city, because you're getting more and more federal laws on that, and Indiana's state laws may end up conflicting with federal laws. You know, Indianapolis is getting pretty fired up about, in kind of a right-wing sort of way.
Yes.
I'm not sure where that's going to leave the city, kind of between the two of them, how you're going to be able to thread the needle and comply with the state laws, comply with the federal laws, and it seems like the city council is pretty committed to equal rights.
Yes, yes. You know, it is a very tough, you know, topic for people, but it's the right thing to do. You look at some of the bigger companies, like Old National Bank is doing it, Toyota, several of the colleges, and you know, it's all about treating people equal. So I believe it's something we definitely need to move forward on, but we do have to see what the economic, you know, impact is on the budget. It
seemed like when the city council was talking about there wasn't really much debate. It seemed pretty clear that the majority is in favor of equal rights. Is that a fair statement or not?
I believe it's a fair statement. Upon talking to several of the council members, you know, I believe that we would like to see this move forward. But once again, we have to see, you know, we have to keep an eye on the money and see what the economic impact is.
Well, you can't approve anything until you know what the cost is.
No, that would.
So, you were against the non-smoking ordinance. Eventually, the Indiana Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional. And since they struck it down, as I understand, it's sat there. There's not been another ordinance proposed.
I know that there were a couple of council members looking into this, but you know, we've got so many other topics and issues that we need to focus on. You know, I'm very happy and pleased with the way it turned the things around, and the owners, the small business owners, are now allowed to decide how they want to run their business, and we have the choice to decide if we want to go in there or not. And all in all, there were only a handful of actual restaurants, or bars, I'm sorry, that went back to smoking. So you have a choice.
And I think you'd said that you felt like there were 2 bars in your ward that went under.
We had 2 long-time standing bars. The one had been there 40 years, the other, almost as long, and they're no longer in business.
And you think that was because of the non-smoking ordinance?
I know it had a lot to do with the non-smoking ordinance. We also had a couple of other bars and private clubs that almost went under, prior to the courts reverting back and letting them choose whether or not to smoke.
Okay. Now, since we've got the IU Med Center down here, the downtown is going to be changing so much over the next 4 or 5 years. Is the downtown master plan that they did have, it seems like that thing's obsolete, isn't it?
I would think so. It's probably something that we will need to work on and look at because we do have so many different things and wonderful things going on downtown that we need to probably take a look at that and move that forward.
Okay, now that master plan, is that the mayor's office or the city council, or is it a joint endeavor?
That would probably be more of the mayor's office, but the city council would need too because we actually have the budget and the funding.
Okay. Now, when they do a master plan, is that just a prediction of how they think things will grow, or is it the goal to build on that certain way? I mean, there's nothing legally binding, is it? No, not normally legally binding. It's just kind of a plan for you to take and look at, to go step by step to, what can we do to get it to where we want it to be. Okay. Because, the city has bought these properties over on 3rd and 4th Street in the 500 block.
Yes.
And they've bought some other properties. You've got a few buildings that need to be torn down. Then we've got the bus station there, and with that property, and things have changed so much. It seems like at this point they need to spend the money to get a master plan and really see where things are going, because it's totally different than it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Absolutely, it's really changed ever since I've been on council too. Since I've been on since 2007, so it's probably something that we do need to look at and work on and update that master plan.
Okay. Now there's another project that's being started, the Haney's Corner project. What's going on with that?
There's a lot of great things going on down there. It's not actually in my ward. I was able to attend the press conference yesterday, and that's just really going to help the arts district. They're going to open up some areas for some parking there, and it's going to be a great thing for that area.
Okay. Well, what all are they planning on doing down there?
Honestly, it is not my ward,
okay.
But they've got a lot of great things and different plans. They're trying to get some developers to come and take the buildings and make them, just a better place downtown.
Because I know they're going to tear down a couple of buildings down that have been abandoned. That's in that area of town. That's always an issue. That's always a big issue down there.
Yes, it is. And like I said, it's not my ward, but they are doing a great job.
Of course, I guess the abandoned buildings, that's a big issue throughout the city.
Yes, I've had several abandoned houses in my ward that we've had to tear down.
And what happens on that? People are living there, and the building is just not worth anything. The bank doesn't want it, and it just somebody just walks off, and that's that.
Yeah, most of mine have been a foreclosure or a death in the family, and the house just sits there and pretty much just goes to waste, so it needs to be torn down.
Okay. We only have about a minute left. I have to ask you, I know you're busy with your real estate business. The city council only pays about $19,000 a year. If you quit the city council, you'd be better off spending, at least financially, all your time just on your real estate business. But you love the city council. Why do you love it so much? Because it seems like it's a pretty tough job.
It is a tough job, and I get asked this question quite a bit, but I do it because I absolutely love Evansville, and I just think there's so much that we can do to move Evansville forward. And I was born and raised in a family that took pride in Evansville and wanted to do the right things and move the city forward, and that was just instilled in me.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you being here. I enjoyed talking to you. Thanks for joining us. Next week we're going to be honored to have Holly Sullivan. Holly is the state representative of District 78. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
This year in the Tri-State, 1 out of 8 people will be in an accident.
Would you know what to do?
Pain and suffering, lost time if you're working.
When you call Woods & Woods, You are not a statistic. You are our client, and we will fight to get the money you deserve.
If you're in an accident, call Woods & Woods if you want justice.
If you've been injured, call 1-800-544-2108.
Let Woods & Woods work for you. You don't owe us a dime unless we win your case.
You're watching memorable entertainment television. Me TV Tri-State.